When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. You're ready to move your business forward, but first, you need to find the right team. Start your search with Indeed-sponsored jobs. It can help you reach qualified candidates fast, ensuring your listing is the first one they see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. See the results for yourself. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Thursday Night Football is on, and it's only on Prime Video.
Brilliant, just brilliant.
This week, the West Coast action heats up when the Rams meet the Seahawks in a huge divisional showdown. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern with football's best party, TNF Tonight, presented by Verizon. And don't miss the Broncos and Chiefs on Christmas night. It's Thursday Night Football, only on Prime Video. Not a Prime member? Not a problem. Simply sign up for a 30-day free trial. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
It's really cool.
Bonjour, hello, and welcome to the Rosbiff Rugby Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things French rugby, the top 14, Pro League, Nationale, Champions and Challenge Cups, and most importantly of all the brilliant towns, cities, bars, restaurants, people, fans, stadia, everything that makes French rugby the game we know and love. Rob, you are back from a little West Country excursion, which we'll go into in a moment in one piece. You're also back in, having touched on the Section Paloise jumper last week, you've wheeled out an extraordinary bit of Bayonne.
There you go, Richard, in full, you can see it in full. Patoka.
So it's the happiest looking Bayonne thing I've seen in London in the last 24 hours, but maybe it's not actually. We'll get on to their fans in a moment.
Well, that was because obviously you have to. I was choosing what to wear, and with 3 Christmas jumpers, because it's December, it's got to be one of the Christmas ones. I felt like with the 3 teams losing, I felt Bayonne deserved it the most for just partly because their loose horse mascot is on this jersey, and nothing summed up their looseness than their fans going mental at the Stoop, despite getting an absolute hiding. So I thought, in the spirit of that, they invoked the spirit of Patoka. I thought I'd honour that.
It was good. It was good. One of our mates yesterday, and there was subsequent footage doing the rounds. So it's quite funny in the WhatsApp group going, they're 61-0 down or whatever it is, 61-10 down, and the fans have started a 60-person conga around the stadium, which is superb work. Very enjoyable. How are you? Because you were with a few. Well, you were an away fan, I dare say. You were an away fan in England yesterday afternoon. Do you want to divulge?
I wasn't even the only English away fan there. Bumped into some a guy I knew from uni who is friends with Will Kelleher. So him and they were there, but they're Poe fans because mainly the green and white. That was how they kind of landed on Poe, I think, to kind of match the kind of extra uni colours. But yeah, I mean, the Poe fans that were over from the Pyrenees, they were partying hard as well after the game, having it also shipped 60 points. They were bringing a lot of the energy, more energy than the Bristol fans, I dare say. But yeah, it was good. I mean, today it was a late one in the end, thanks to Mike and Agnes, who led me astray with a few extra drinks. But also big shout out to Miles from Bears Beyond the Gate, who was an excellent host. I felt like the relative that had been invited round for like the prize relative that had been invited round for tea, and just kind of showing me round and introducing me to lots of people. Met his family.
Fantastic.
But yeah, it was an excellent evening out in the end. Yeah, it was good day.
The result for Poe.
Yeah. But I enjoyed the experience. I'm glad I went, but.
Good.
Poe, it would have been obviously a better game. Would have been more fun.
Yeah, it was something of a bit of a West Country takeover for Rosbiffs in the week just gone. First of all, obviously you mentioned him there. You were on it's our first guest appearance on another podcast, the Bears Beyond the Gate Bristol Bears. I found myself fumbling around on live radio, the Bristol, the Scrum show.
BBC Radio Bristol.
Dan
The
and
Beeb.
Dave. The Beeb made it on the Beeb. And then our kind of annual uni reunion was very conveniently for you going to Po was a day down in Bath. So yeah.
If you listened
slowly
last
taking
week,
over that part of the country.
If you listened last week or maybe the week before, you would have heard me say I'm not going to Bristol to watch the Po game, and yet when I found out on Saturday that I was going to be 15 minutes down the road, it was kind of like, well, I might as well. So yeah, and I dived into it. It was great fun.
Shout out to the West Country.
Yeah,
always good fun, and welcome as well if you listen to any of those things. If you had the misfortune and have decided to continue and give us a crack, you're very welcome along. So welcome aboard. Should we I guess because of some of those shenanigans
don't want to touch on the
weekend.
Don't want to touch on the thriller of the weekend, the 4-4 draw between Larkhall Athletic and who were they? Cleave somebody.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah.
It was a thriller, to be fair. It was a thriller.
Yeah.
Got a bit nippy towards the end, but it was
beautiful setting as well. Larkhall Athletic FC. That was our random sport.
It was stunning.
With there being no rugby in Bath, the sport that we were taken to by our friends was
and an excellent cheese bap in the bar afterwards for like £1 or something. Very good. Where do we start? It's impossible these weeks. Do we go for? We touched on the fans a little bit there. I feel like there's so much doom and gloom around the Champions and Challenge Cups at points. It's nice to see and hear of people still getting some wicked value out the away days. Bayonne, Po. Few English fans, I dare say, notably any Sale Sharks fans you got across to Claremont. Never easy to win there, although I've seen Claremont in a bit of a sticky patch. But is it best to? There are two real standouts of the round, and I think probably that's the best place to start. Do we want to go to wet and windy Scottstoun or cold but quite sunny Toulon?
I think let's start at Scottstoun because, as you said last week, the equivalent weekend where we ended up at Larkhall Athletic on Saturday. In a previous year, we had ended up on a very cold, very wet Scottstoun years ago now for La Rochelle v Glasgow. But yeah, it was quite a famous night up in Scottstoun. It looked absolutely horrific. It looked worse than when we went all those years ago. It looked so grim.
Proper sideways stuff, sideways rain. Although all the action that you could just see. I don't know if that was the stand we were in, or we were at the other end of the ground when we went.
We were at the far end, yeah.
Okay, and it was you could see the rain just going in through the fairly limited covering. But that end of the ground did get a lot of action. It transpired. Yeah, famous win for Glasgow, 28-21. I think. Obviously, I've caught bits of this, but we didn't see it live at the time. And I think when you see the score, you kind of go, "Oh, I mean, Toulouse sent a great side. Glasgow, obviously, a fantastic club in their own right." Doesn't quite tell the story though, because I'd say that arguably the way Toulouse lost it is, well, it doesn't. I can't think of certainly this era of Toulouse not throwing away, but succumbing to 21 points up with
21
half an hour to go.
Yeah, it wasn't even
remarkable.
The first Glasgow try was immediately. It wasn't like a straight back after like in that kind of England-Scotland game at Twickenham years ago. The kind of comeback kind of starts like pre-half time, or like the Harlequins one at Bristol. Yeah, what's your like biggest takeaway from this? What did you come out of it feeling?
I think maybe I'm giving Toulouse a bit too much credit, but it feels like I don't know how many times that's going to happen to them in the Champions Cup. And maybe a little bit earlier in the pieces, it's better for them and their cup hopes. I don't know. To be fair, I mean, I was watching it. It was a little bit kind of patchy, my viewing. I'll be completely honest with you, but I felt in that second half, Glasgow were incredibly good value for the comeback. And they just couldn't. It felt like very unlike Toulouse, even with some fairly dogged defence at points, just couldn't quite. It's very rare you see them lose momentum for that amount of time. And obviously they're defending the end as well with the wind kind of coming back at them, and it was hard to get out their half. But yeah, more than anything, I was really impressed with what I saw of Glasgow. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not. It's not where I'm coming away from like fundamental flaws or anything like that. But maybe I don't know. Maybe I wasn't watching it quite intently enough.
I'm kind of with you. I was kind of watching it thinking I need to not jump to like huge conclusions, because actually Glasgow are just playing really well, and like there is extenuating circumstances here with the weather and like the wind. But I was surprised how Toulouse were able to be dominated physically. Like they just couldn't handle in that second half. Well, they couldn't handle McDowell all game, I don't think, but they couldn't handle him and Tuipulotu in that second half. And I thought the way that Dempsey and Ferguson kind of came into it more and more suggests they couldn't really handle that sort of physicality. I think the defence was pretty poor for a Toulouse side as well. It just looked a bit, I'm going to be a hero and jump out the line and make a hit. And I think, the average age of those centres is 21 or whatever.
A bit naive.
It looked, I don't know if naive, I think naive probably is the word. It feels like the easiest word. It just didn't look particularly convincing. It looked a bit hairy. It was a bit like when England brought in that new defence and you had like someone standing miles out the channel. It felt a little bit like that. And the fact that Glasgow had two really physical centres, and I think I saw somewhere on Twitter, but someone suggested that, Toulouse didn't have any of their physical centres. Well, they've lost one in Peter Aki, but Chocobares and Barassi weren't available. And it did look a little bit like they couldn't handle it, I think. But I guess that doesn't account for, Dempsey and the Fergusons and guys like that playing really well, because they still had the kind of full noise pack, and Willis was pretty good. So
very rare as well. You see maybe that sort of inability to deal with them physically comes from, and this is in no way suggesting Toulouse are unfit or anything like that, but there's a lot of fatigue in a game like that, right? When you can't arrest that momentum, when you are in the corner with the gale blowing in, and you can't get out of your half. And I think how often do you see Toulouse go without the ball for that amount of time? Yeah. Like it's a totally different kind of totally different mindset. Like you never see Toulouse really in any sort of kind of rear guard or having to defend for that amount of time. And some of that might be conditioned, some of that is how well Glasgow played. But yeah, I guess any team when you're under just that amount of squeeze is gonna succumb at some point. But yeah, I certainly, like you, I certainly didn't come away from this being like, I think there's anything crazy or existential. But it's, you can see maybe they can get ruffled physically at times.
I was surprised how little impact the bench, or how much. I think it probably comes into the whole momentum of the game and the wind and whatever, and the conditions. But Glasgow's bench had way more impact than Toulouse's. And Toulouse, I think John Barkley said either at half-time or pre-game, Manny Miafu is the guy off the bench that's going to be, they've got to try and stop him. But you're bringing Rumat off the bench and Merkler, and guys, Merkler actually defended pretty well. But like the guys they're bringing off the bench are properly physical players as well. And they were still kind of overrun defensively, or physically, sorry. So, yeah, it's just I don't know. It was just such a strong Toulouse team. And they were kind of, yeah, you're right. They barely touched the ball in the second half, it felt like. And I think actually the kind of one thing that people are sleeping on is that Glasgow actually defended pretty well in the first half. Because
could have been
a lot of teams could have been 35-0 down at half time rather than 21-0 down. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, fair play to Glasgow. Thought Dan Lancaster off the bench was quite tidy as well. Maybe that's just massive confirmation bias, because I always quite like seeing him on a team sheet after his travails last year. But
he nearly scored a wonder try, and then the wheels of Paul Grau saved the day for Toulouse. Yeah, no, it looked to be going all right.
Yeah, impressive. Awesome for Glasgow. The other,
top of the pool. They're top of that pool. That's quite a bad result for Toulouse, that, because Glasgow are now 10 points out of the two games. So
where have they got to go? They've got to play Clermont.
They've got Clermont away, and then they must have the Sharks at home. No, they're the same group as the Sharks. It'll be an English side.
Sale Sharks.
No, they've played Sale Sharks.
Oh, that was last week, wasn't it? They went there and won. Saracens. So yeah, they're in great straits, aren't they? I think the other fascinating game from this, which again did look from a distance like the pick or one of the picks of the bunch, was Toulon Bath. And I feel like, again, and both of these games actually, and it's not to moan about the current thing, but just felt like a bit of an old-fashioned kind of Heineken Cup, two sides in decent form, like kind of baying Mayol. Quite a lot on it for Toulon as well. I think that was the big thing, having obviously lost in Edinburgh. actually to put themselves, not to get out of the group because the format now is a lot easier for that, but to put yourself in a realistic chance of having a favourable home run, right? Like you can't, if you lose 2, you're probably struggling, particularly in this pool. It was really, I thought a pretty impressive performance in a cracking game. I really, really enjoyed it as well. Toulon, speaking about Toulouse maybe coming off second best in some of the rough stuff. Toulon, I think we always know their trump card, particularly against big teams, is their pack can properly go toe to toe. And I feel like this was a pretty tasty demonstration of that.
How many times do you see Thomas Dutoy
get folded,
going backwards at a scrum?
Yeah,
quite that velocity as well. I thought that was staggering. Like that shows the kind of level of physicality and how tuned up they were, because it's not like Bath. I think Bath's bench wasn't quite what it could be, but they still brought Thomas Dutoy off the bench.
Yeah.
And he was neutralised quite comprehensively. And it was always going to come. They're both, I mean, you've got to be physical, right? To be good at this level. And certainly Bath have kind of done well in that respect. And it was a case that they just came up against the more physical side. I would like to see a bit more from Toulon in terms of, like, I felt the way that when it did get out to Dreyan and Furte, it just seemed a bit, this could be really tasty. And they never quite got them in enough space. And it was still the fact they had those threats out wide and they had done so much through the middle physically. It would have just been nice to have seen them unleash that a little bit more. But I thought Toulon were really, really good. Generally, I thought Garcia was excellent.
Had a good game, didn't he? Coming in, obviously, there's this sort of slightly unusual situation where they've just signed Albonos, right? And he's coming in this month.
Yeah, I think he's coming in like 2 weeks or something.
Straight away, which I guess puts into question what's going to happen with Garbisi and
there's rumours that he's
going back.
Yeah,
and then Hervé went to Castres, who'd obviously actually played a lot in the 10 position. So it's cool. Garcia he was at Bordeaux, right?
Bordeaux, yeah.
It was nice to see him have a good game. He looks like a nice ball striker, as they call it, off the tee as well. I like he's just a left-footed thing.
He's been, he does that. He does strike the ball really nicely, I think. But he's been doesn't quite strike me as that sort of player. But he's been involved in the sevens a lot, like like Kapia and Quere Caraba and guys like that kind of are kind of project players for the next Olympics. He's in that group and he's been playing quite a lot. It doesn't strike me as that sort of.
No.
Seems like more of a traditional kicking 10.
French.
Whenever I've seen him,
that's fascinating. Okay. A lot of people speaking about this, but a couple of really good games from Toulon from the English, the Rosbiff contingent. I thought Carl Sinclair looked like the sort of Carl Sinclair of old, didn't he? Ludlam and Murphy in the back row were good.
Carl Sinclair has been really good at Toulon. He had a bit of injury, great. But he's been brilliant all-round game.
I think this is the most I've seen him in the loose in the times I've watched Toulon in the first in the last 18 months or so, which was when he sort of, and props changed particularly as they over the years, right? But that was kind of how he came into the England side to start with, wasn't it? It was that ball carrying option. He was fantastic, as was back row.
Ludlam was great.
Ludlam was great.
I still don't think, I don't know if this is controversial or not, I still don't think we've seen much from Mercer at Toulon. I think he's not hit the levels that it would be hard for him to hit the levels that he made at Montpellier, but he's quite some way off that, I think. I don't think I've seen that much from him. And to be fair, it took him a while to get going at Gloucester, and I know he wasn't there long, but it took him about half a season to get going, to find his way there. So I wonder if that's the case again.
I still think also.
I know I love his basics
are pretty good.
Yeah,
but you're right. They're like
there's not been the X Factor version.
Much of his trump card, right, which is carrying and offloading in particular. The other guy in the back row, Charles Olivon, was awesome. Yeah. It's just wicked to see someone who had that horrible an injury come back and look like it hasn't, certainly in the short term, hasn't affected like his speed, his athleticism, anything, which is brilliant.
He did get chased down by Ted Hill though, but I don't think that's a slight on Olivon.
He's rapid, isn't he?
Ted Hill is just rapid.
Yeah.
Every time I watch Ted Hill, I'm like, how has this guy not got 50 caps for England? He's amazing.
It does seem odd, doesn't it? I mean, what has he played? Like maybe He's been in every squad, like larger squad, right, for forever, it seems.
Yeah.
And I just don't quite. And also, I feel like a lot of those caps he gets, they've been like off the bench for not very long, or it's like the summer tour. I don't quite get it. I always look at him, and I'm with you. I think he just looks like he's got everything you'd want in a back, like a international back row, or he can play it lock, can't he? Cover it at least.
Also, like in this world of 7-1s and hybrid benches, bloke can stick him on the wing. Like he's quicker than most wingers. Like he outran. There was it was a couple of seasons ago now. He outran Josh Hodge and Manifo Urboso. Like comfortably. The guy, I feel like he doesn't get enough game time at Bath either. Anyway, he needs to go to France. That's what he needs to do.
He
did damage at Claremont, I reckon.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, another awesome game there. And it's amidst some pretty indifferent matches. We mentioned the Po and Bayonne getting hammered on the road. Like these were cracking games, and actually, you know what? There's been a few of them already in the tournament, right? And maybe just need to amplify them more rather than dwelling on the ones that aren't going quite so well. What's sort of best of the rest? Pretty happy. Castres against Edinburgh, nilling aside. Not often Castres keep someone to
first bagel of all these blowouts. The first bagel.
Yeah, crazy. And the bits sort of this. I feel like Castres for a lot of this season. I mean, their discipline's been shocking, which hasn't helped. But they have at points threatened to kind of crack sides open. And it's felt like their sort of final ball, bit of skill, maybe a bit of miscommunication with a few guys, new guys coming in and new combinations hasn't quite worked out. But they were pretty good value for this. And actually, the way they approached this sets it up, I think, really nicely for after Christmas with Bath going there. Because I think, if you're a Bath fan, you may have looked at this like Edinburgh beating Toulon. If Edinburgh get a result at Castres, you don't care. That becomes possibly a nice route to a half decent run from here. But I think that could be quite nicely poised, that one. We did see a little.
I actually watched this game while I was in the Bristol Beer Factory. I watched it on my phone. That's a more general point actually about the Champions Cup. And I think part of the reason why there is a little bit of doom and gloom about it, and it's a bit of a problem they need to sort out, is places don't have Premier Sports. So the pub we were in on Saturday in Bath had it, but trying to find it in Bristol, trying to find anywhere to show it was tricky. And people just don't have it. Like I went into 2 pubs and they were showing Milan versus Sassuolo on TNT Sports.
Excellent.
And that, that's a I know I was in Bristol, but Bath were going to be playing a huge Champions Cup game that afternoon. And it's just, you can't find it. It is a problem.
It is a big problem. Because, I mean, the pub we were in Bath is basically a rugby pub, which is why they had it. They've signed shirts all over the walls. So if that's the only place, and you're right, like I can't think of too many places that tend to have it beyond those sorts of spots. Yeah,
I think you've probably got to find an Irish pub because then it's focused on, because it's not there. I think they're Irish Premier Sports, or certainly the CEO is. But obviously, with it being the URC kind of main channel, you kind of got to hope that either a rugby pub or an Irish or Scottish bar or a Welsh bar. But yes, watching it on my phone, I found, the second half was pretty much one-way traffic, and Edinburgh kind of folded. I think Castres actually had plenty more in the tank. And Badiang looked threatening, but he's definitely not fully at it yet. They were trying to get him into the game. Tell you who did look fully at it was Batitu and Karo Alevu.
Yeah.
Batitu was amazing in this game, and he is just so good when he's on it. One area of concern for Castres, Papali went off injured, and I think he might have been on crutches.
Oh, really?
End of the game. He had like a big ice pack on his shin, and then I think the way he was standing suggested he might have been on crutches towards the end of the game. But a guy, Vargas, I thought was really good.
He's been excellent. I think even that game we saw in Toulouse when they got hammered, I thought he looks like an incredibly intelligent, I suppose is the word, isn't it? Like a player who had a lot of involvement, seems to have a lot of time. I like him a lot.
Seems to have a real ability to not get touched when he's running. It just seems to, without kind of looking like he's not like a big hot stepper either, is he?
Yeah. He kind of drifts around people. He's a nice player.
That's just such a classic Castres signing, isn't it? I thought Tyler Ardron was really good as well. He had a really busy game. He's actually in some really good form. I think I've seen him a couple of times have a couple of good games. It'd be interesting to see how Castres go for this. I think they're giving it a crack these days, which is really cool.
Yeah.
The fact that they shut out. That was another really, really strong side that they put out, and they shut out a rotated Edinburgh. I think it kind of still looked relatively strong, but I think they made like 10 changes or something like that from last week. So
yeah, not too bad from Castres. Bordeaux, as expected, were pretty comfortable against the Scarlets. Tough match-up that, but looks quite good fun at the Chaban Delmas, as it often does. Another man of the match from Mathieu Jalibert, looking in fairly tasty form. I think it's fair to say. He was magnificent again. La Rochelle, we did catch a little bit of this, didn't we? In said pub in Bath. Sent, the callowest of changed up callow sides.
I genuinely think that could be the weakest side that I can remember in Champions Cup history. It's up there in terms of on paper. It had two locks who have never started in the back row. One of them making his first ever professional start at 7.
Like average age of 20, the back line or something. The
back line had two players over 21, but that was like the halfbacks were 18 and 19. I do like the commitment to the kind of from the scrum half, Nolan Kuyod. He's like a hybrid portmanteau of Pro Evo version of Nolan Le Garrec and Baptiste Kuyu. It's like, because he's got both names are like one letter out from being an exact of
excellent
of the kind of France. That's how he's going to get his way into the France squad.
Just by sneak his way in.
Yeah, confusion. Oh yeah, bring in Nolan.
I was listening to a podcast on that once, and they swore blind that the reason Johnny Hill got on the 2021 Lions tour was because when him and Johnny Gray were playing Exeter, someone just wrote the name wrong on the invite, which is a little bit harsh, but quite funny. To be fair to La Rochelle, like losing 42-21 or whatever, it could have been so much uglier, and it looked like it was going to be millions at one point, and I feel like the game was so sewn up so early. It just kind of fizzled, and perhaps I thought we were going to see like an 80, a 90, or maybe even 100 at one point. But fair
Free
play.
Game, I thought that, but yeah,
it did all right, all things told. And then what does that leave? We mentioned Clermont losing to Sale, like changed up Sale side as well, so not great for them. And then
that is a crap result for Clermont. That's a really crap result because they got pumped, and they had their first choice pack basically, or their best available pack pretty much, but then they just chose like second choice halfbacks, which I find bizarre. Irai Simone, his second ever, he's 30 and he's making his second ever professional start at 10, which was a bit of a theme this weekend with some of the French sides, is just sticking someone in at 10 because you don't want to play your second choice. It's just let's just plug who do we think could play 10. I did see there was some comments from Fritz Lee after the game.
Yes, I saw these. Yeah,
basically saying that there's something going on in the dressing room, and he was talking about how there had been no improvement over the 3 years of this project with Christophe Urios and the people in charge. He stopped short of calling him a dish of bechamel sauce, which is a real shame. But yeah, it was
what was the guy's name?
Marvin O'Connor. I had to Google it. I couldn't remember his name. Yeah.
Best French name ever.
Yeah. And that's not good, is it? And it feels that way because they've just had two rotten results in 2 weeks with not the worst teams. Like at least with Pau and Bayonne, you could be like, well, they picked a dodgy team. Whereas
Clermont, I think Clermont as well, we've said before, right, with their history, they tend to treat it with a little bit more reverence. I'm surprised at the gap last week against Saracens. I'm surprised by this as well.
Urios himself has a pretty poor... I was looking at this before the tournament. Although Clermont have quite a good record, or they've tried and go quite strong, he personally has quite a bad track record with Champions Cup. And you've got to think that he was in charge of Castres when Castres used to not bother. And like, Oyonnax were in the Champions Cup 1 year, weren't they? And they obviously didn't bother. But yeah.
There we go. Bayonne hammered as well. Rob, you were in the ground. It was a bit of a pumping for Pau, but any kind of final thoughts on them?
Dan Robson was really good. They got an injury early on to I can't remember who it was now, but they moved Thomas Southerby to 10. So a 20-year-old, 21-year-old scrum half who's never played 10, moved to 10. Completely confirmation bias, but I thought Fabien Braubery was basically everything he did was fantastic and like looked like he was just on another level to everyone else. Oh, Aaron Grandidier went off like first minute. So they had to have a bit of a reshuffle. Like they moved Heinrich Luke to the wing, and so they kind of had a bit of a mix and match. But weirdly enough, the two guys that are the out and out first choice players in Fabien Braubery and Dan Robson were the only two that kind of stepped up and kind of could match Bristol. Like it was just a bit of a drubbing. They just couldn't resist the phicality of Bristol.
Yeah. I thought this when I saw that team. I know there's still a few gaps, but I thought it looked. I thought it would be a little bit. There'd be a bit more resistance, certainly in the first half than this.
Yeah,
so I think you'd struggle to.
Much.
Yeah, like I think probably both of us in our various Bristol audio work in the week kind of felt that okay, it'd be changed up, but we then saw that side and thought, you know what, actually should be competitive for decent chunks. It'd be hard pushed to be able to justify to anyone that wasn't a towel throwing selection, but I don't think that was the case.
Yeah, I think it's a weird one because they've got Montauban at, I think they were away at Montauban.
Away.
So I assume actually you do go full noise for that because you're like, right, well that is an away win. If we're at full strength, that is an away win we should get. So maybe that's what's driven it. But yeah, I think it is interesting that they've kind of fully rested. It's interesting they fully rested Desperez because he's played a lot of rugby. And obviously Simmons is still injured and they need Desperez more than anyone really, as this game showed. And the fact they've rested already for that long as well, I think speaks to how critical he is for their game.
Yeah. Very good. Just to round off all the European stuff, if you can call it that now, with sides all over the place. But Challenge Cup. So Stade Francais, nice little trip to Amsterdam. Win for them. Montpellier beat Zebre. Perpignan lost on the road, as did Lyon, who have achieved the remarkable in losing to the only two teams in the Prem and URC respectively who haven't won a game this year.
That is absolutely staggering, isn't it?
Last play of the game. I don't think Dragons have won for nearly a year or just over a year.
Probably not. They're rubbish.
So yeah, I mean, good fun for them. But Lyon, turning into an all-timer of a campaign from them. Montauban were beaten. Oh God, who were they beaten by at home by the Ospreys?
Yeah,
so the Welsh doing all right in the Challenge Cup. And Racing and Exeter drew, which is remarkable for two reasons. Well, three key things on this. One, it wasn't on Premier Sports at all, which I thought all of the games were, so that was annoying. Even the highlights had no commentary, which is real old school.
Oh wow.
The second thing being Exeter basically sent the under-9s. The team was callow enough that Exeter Chiefs actually tagged Exeter University in the social media posts. and arguably should have won it. They conceded two tries in the last 10 minutes for Racing to salvage a draw. But they nearly stormed the Dominique Duval, I think it's called, the ground down in Créteil. A decent draw for them. Racing saving a few blushes, I think it's fair to say there. Yeah. All right. And breathe for another week, Rob. We'll for the next couple of weeks, we don't have to cover a billion games. But let's break there, come back, talk about the league stuff in just a sec.
In Walmart Nouville, time was ticking away. Only a few nights left till the big holiday. But last-minute gifters had no need to worry. Walmart Express Delivery got their gifts in a hurry. From Nintendo to Nespresso and Lego flowers, they could check off their lists in as fast as an hour. All of Nouville, East, West, South, and North could order gifts up until 5 p.m. on December 24th. So this holiday, just do as the Who's do. With gift delivery this fast, they all gasped. From Walmart? Who knew? Subject to availability, terms and fees apply.
Okay, Rob, we're about to get back into some domestic action in the top 14 front. Both top 14 and Pro D2 have got, I think, one more round before Christmas. But Nationale, everyone's favourite third tier of rugby, has just wrapped up. And it was, as is often the case, there was a It was a pretty tight round. This one more so than I think any I can remember. There's been some squeaky ones, but there were the small matter of 3 1-point victories this week, which I'm guessing is probably not far off some sort of record. So Perriga 9-8 away at Rennes, Rouen away 10-9 at Suresnes. And Narbonne beat Massy 33-32 at home as well. So
some good single figure ones there as well.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, and 8-9. Not often you see that. Kind of tennis tie-break style. So yeah, that's very very good fun. And the draw. Yeah, exactly.
Marc-Antoine Barrel Niort. Big one at the bottom. 29 all. What thriller.
As if it wasn't tight enough already. Yeah. The two wins, one going to Albi, who beat Bourgoin and go into the Christmas break top of the table. And Nice hammered poor old Tarbes, who are having a continued rough time of it at the bottom. But yeah, plenty of fun down in Nationale. Not
how long have they got off? They're off for ages now.
It's the same week back as the Champions Cup. It's like the 10th of January, I think.
Yeah.
Give or take. So yeah, I think they get what's that? 3 weeks off, 3 and a bit weeks off, nice. Which is well deserved. Yeah, but it should be quite nicely poised going into that break. It's still really tight for right at the top of the table. Pro D2 was not as tight this week, with the notable exception of the Thursday night game, which was on FRUK. Soyo-Angoulême are favourites or semi-favourites at the moment, beat Agen 22-20. Really, I think before this it felt like it might, you often say this and get completely wrong, but it did feel it might go that way. Angoulême, who have been dicey at home, Agen a bit dodge on the road, but regained some form with that win the week before against Provence. And for a little bit, it looked like this was going to be another real squeaky one that Angoulême going to miss out at home. Was Alex Ruiz going to go absolutely bananas again in front of everyone? Not needed in the end, owing to a fairly remarkable, it must be said, one of a long line, it seems, this year of drop kicks. This one by, is it Corentin Glenna?
Corentin Glenna.
Who obviously was starting at 10. I don't know what more to say about the drop goal itself, other than it's a hell miles out, and he's absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, I can't not see, and actually, Tim Cocker did mention this on commentary. I can't not see Jack Grealish when I look at Corentin Glenna. There's just the socks are down, the hair's back. I don't know. There's just a lot of Jack Grealish in there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I kind of get you.
Yeah. So we've got he was up against the Agen Pollock. Maybe we've got the Angoulême Grealish. There was in this game a fantastic red card. Have you seen it?
No, I don't think I have.
Have you not? So no. It's Perne Farmasuli.
Was it as good as Hastoy and the Kung Fu kick?
It's between the Hastoy one and the Tarrant one, because there is a scrum penalty. They come up for a scrum and Farmasuli just lamps him in the face.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think he goes for him. He goes for him, and then there's another, and he properly clocks him, and it is bang in front of the referee because it's a scrum, and he's a prop.
You just don't see that very often now, do you?
It's amazing.
That is. Oh God!
Tim on commentary was like, I just can't remember the last time I saw it. The last time I saw a punch in professional rugby.
Yeah, that's a real throwback. Proper Julian White style stuff.
It did floor him though. Julian White. No one beats Julian White. Julian White flooring Andrew Sheridan is. Well, as a Leicester fan, one of my favourite moments ever.
Iconic moments.
Yeah.
No, I didn't see that. Farmasili's come in with he's a Wallaby not that long ago, right?
He played in the World Cup.
Yeah. Wow.
It's mental.
And now he's decking people in the Chiron.
But we'll leave it there. Yeah, although that does bring us on to that. It was just fucking mad. That it was actually the first thing I looked at when I saw the team sheets come out was Tilsley going to be. I wasn't even caring about anyone else. I just thought it's
I guess for anyone who hasn't been listening, who's been like this for a little while, it's been quite a rumbling background of a court case and fairly serious conviction for domestic assault, and he's been sentenced to a year in prison, right? But yeah, I don't quite know.
A year in prison with a year suspended, but he's already had a suspended 6 months one, so I don't know how that
feels. Like that rather defeats the suspended bit. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I personally, I think this is quite cut and dry that he shouldn't be playing. Other people might feel differently, and perhaps under an appeal at the moment, perhaps they're within their rights, but it leaves a sour taste for me anyway.
I just think what I can't get my head around is the impact on the playing squad. If you're a member of that squad, how do you feel about like we kind of mentioned, like imagine rocking up to cricket on a Saturday, and I know it's different because you're a professional, but if you rocked up to cricket and found out someone had been sentenced for domestic violence, you'd be like, probably not. I don't really want to be playing here right now. And obviously it's different if you're contracted.
Getting paid.
Yeah.
There's a lot to love about that club and about the fans there and everything about Angoulême, but I don't think and whether it's fair to pull the whole club in, maybe not, but I personally think the decisions there are I'm not in favour of.
Toulouse binned him, right? Like as soon as the first conviction came out, Toulouse, he was just gone.
Yeah, and
I think that kind of tells you what you need to do. The fans are great, and they've now got bagpipes. Who knew? That was
bagpipes.
Yeah, it was bagpipes playing throughout the game at Swansea. As if Swansea couldn't get any better.
The bagpipes are in. Interesting.
It was a pretty ordinary game, I have to say. It wasn't the execution wasn't quite there, and Agen definitely had the measure of Angoulême physically, but somehow Angoulême just managed to keep scoring points and kept ahead, and Agen were just couldn't capitalise on that on the kind of the dominance they had up front.
Yeah, and an important one for them to win, I think, not just in the context of league position, but also against the backdrop of some of those home losses have been last 5 minutes, squeaky games they probably should have won. And I think to kind of right the ship in a tight one like that and having come from behind late as well, I think I'd imagine they'll be pretty chuffed with the outcome. Okay, so what else? I mean, I think was this a full home wins round? I think it was, Rob.
Oh, it was, yes.
Increasingly a little bit of a rarity. There weren't, I mean, a lot of these games were pretty comfortable as expected. Oyonnax beating the Vert, Provence playing over Béziers. Brive gave Carcassonne a bit of a hammering on the road. Biarritz were in the fight at Van up until half time, and then lost 38-20. And Aurillac also won at home. Big call out for Valence, who are, I mean, we've said it a lot in the last few weeks, but their incredible start of the season continues. It looked like it was packed as well down at the Stade Pompidou, I think, isn't it? Big game and sort of local derby of sorts, absolutely rammed out. Although maybe the main thing to take away from this is a proper try the season contender from it was Costas Doughty finished it.
Oh, really?
As in try like one end of the pitch, basically try line to try line. Absolutely magnificent bit of work. And then the other team, so actually we didn't mention in that, on Oyonnax, I think have won 5 in a row, having had that dodgy start to the season when they kept losing at like last play of the game. They're going really well. And another team who, we'll talk about in slightly more unfortunate terms in a moment, Dax, I think have now 4 from 5 beating Colomiers. I think Colomiers obviously a little bit changed up, but still they've done that and won a lot of games on the road this year. So good, like really good for them. And that's what I've got to say on that.
There was quite a strong Colomiers team.
Yeah, it was decent. It really was.
I think Dax have just they've got, like I said a few weeks ago, I think they've got a formula now. They've worked out their best team. They know when they need to play them. They know how they want to play. It's not going to be pretty. They're not going to score loads of points, but they're going to be damn tough to beat at home again. And I think they're probably going to be all right.
Well,
this was news to me. I've literally only seen this on your agenda here.
It's basically only sort of been announced in like literally the last few hours. So it might be one for us to touch on in a bit more detail next week, post chance to digest it slightly. But obviously the headline really is top 14 related. It's all the verdicts come out in the sort of Toulouse, Jaminet transfer saga. And I mean, the upshot of that is Toulouse have been fined, I think, €40,000 and been given a 2-point deduction. Is
that right now?
Yeah, it is right now. Poa top.
Section Poa's top of the league. Yes, boys.
It's all going in their favour at the moment. Yeah, so it feels like the initial response is this seems quite lenient for what is actually for something they've been found guilty of. But I think maybe we can chew into it. And Rob, obviously, you're the finance whiz amongst the two of us, so you might be able to get a better reading on this.
No, mate, I only look at I think this kind of brown paper envelope kind of scurrilous finances stuff. It's an alien concept to me. I don't understand it, Richard. It's
you're not very good at washing the numbers. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But
no, I haven't seen any of this, so I will dive into it. It sounds good.
Definitely, and I mean that's the headline. As I think the immediate. You can't read too much into social media, but a few of the slightly more, how would you say, kind of reasonable kind of journalists or French journalists or prominent figures on some of those platforms seem to think it feels a little bit lenient. And I hadn't realised.
It's quite big, though. I mean, it's not a huge one. It's probably not going to affect them, but I think it's quite big to have a points deduction.
Would it stop you doing it again? 2 points?
2 points, probably not.
Maybe not. I don't know.
What have they done?
Slightly
what have they found to have done?
Well, this is it. And my French isn't good enough, but they have effectively, I think, been found, or at this stage, I think they're going to appeal, but they appear to have been found kind of guilty of a form of financial irregularity around the reimbursement of Jamonet's, I think, like exit clause fee, using a third party so that fee was off the books and not counted towards the salary cap is my loose understanding, which I think if that is the reading of it is quite serious, I would suggest. And it's whether, I guess, it's completely, it's subjective as to whether you feel that 2 points is enough or otherwise. But what I hadn't realised was at the same time there were other ones going on, other clubs being looked at for various things. So both Biarritz and Béziers have had a 2 point deduction. But this is where I really need to look into Dax. So this is in addition to their 5 point deduction at the start of the season, have been ducked another 9 points. So that's a cumulative 14 for the season.
That is mad.
Remarkably, given their run of form, they're still there. They wouldn't be bottom. They wouldn't be second bottom, but that's a huge.
So
that is a big fine.
Yeah, the table I'm looking at two different tables here. Dax in one of them have 25 points and they're in 12th, and then in another one they are 14th on 16th. So they're still not even in the relegation zone. But it does mean that Biarritz are 21 and Béziers are 18. So it does mean that, well, there are now two teams within a win of Mont-de-Marsan, whereas before there was 0. So it offers a material impact for Mont-de-Marsan going forward. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge 14 points over the course of the season is massive, particularly when you are. And I think this is from the initial commentary I've seen, it's not lost the fact that, and I don't know if they're similar offences. I don't think they are. I think they're distinct, but you have in the top two tiers of professional rugby, the side with the highest playing budget and the lowest playing budget getting docked seemingly quite different amounts. So yeah, I think maybe let's dig into it and then we'll come back and discuss it a bit next week. But but Dax feel like they've, or it looks like they've, it's pretty brutal.
Because on All Rugby, you can see it when you look at the table, it does like the form for the last 10 games. It looks really weird where Dax are because the teams above and below them are like all red L's for losses, but then they've got all these like big green W's. It's kind of, they have won 5 games in their last 7, and yet, which is more than Carcassonne, Mont-de-Marsan, Béziers combined.
Yeah, it's been a great run.
So yeah, I think they should still be all right. I think they've shown much more of a game plan and way to work. They've worked it out in a way, but that's a bit of a killer, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not good. They've got the small task of going to Grenoble, who obviously haven't been firing, but not many teams go there and get much out of it. This looks like a really interesting round coming up. Maybe arguably the sort of reverse of last round, where you had a lot of the teams who've been struggling kind of going away to some of the quote unquote big boys, whereas this way it's sort of the other way around a bit. Provence go to Mont-de-Marsan, Vannes to Béziers, Oyonnax to Biarritz, Brive, Nevers could be quite nicely set up. And
as we discovered last week, Nevers, or the week before, Nevers' nearest game is Brive. That's their derby.
The derby, yeah, exactly. And that's before you get onto the top. Oh, no, Van the top. What am I saying? But so two of the form teams in the league, Valence go to Colomiers.
Yeah.
And Valence have
Aurillac one sounds. That's cracking.
And maybe as well, just to throw a little bit more into this, there's then 2.5 weeks off for the players, so perhaps a bit of a last throw of the dice before Christmas, a little bit of caution to the wind in terms of selection. Looks really, really nicely set up. What's the FRUK game this week on the
Van versus was Béziers hosting Van, which is interesting because it's obviously the weaker team at home. So we saw Van struggle away, and this was early season when they were still kind of not quite finding their form. They struggled away at Dax, didn't they? They just about got over the line, but it wasn't pretty. 1 point, yeah. Now, Béziers, up until, first block of fixtures, but had a really good home record. They were kind of then dreadful in the second block, and they've not been that much better in this block. They were good at home though, and I don't know if I can see Béziers winning it, because they do still have that ability to turn on the style, as it were, because they've got some good players still. I caught the highlights of their game against Provence, and they played some nice rugby, but they also looked a little bit clueless at times. Like there's one where Batuni Urata just has a free run to the line on the wing from the 22. There's I don't know. They got a scrum penalty. I guess they've kind of got some points through the scrum as well, which I guess is obviously a positive, especially when you're coming up against Van. If Van goes strong, then they're going to have to front up at the scrum time. You'd imagine Marquez will play, and that is a quite big difference although Camacho has an all right game actually, I think, by the looks of things, but the step up between the drop off between Marquez and basically the rest of the team at times is huge. So it will be interesting to see kind of how strong Van go, because I think Béziers have got to go as strong as they can. I think they've still got quite a few injuries. Whether they can pull something out of the bag. What was their 2 points for? What was their deduction for? Just financial irregularities.
It's all.
I mean, I'm not.
There are different. There are different
sorts going on there.
Yeah, there are different categories of it though. There are a number of different things, and this is why I do need to spend a bit of time on it. So I don't know if it's financial regularity. Some of it, I think Biarritz one way, the DAX one, or part of those was related to sort of realistic/unrealistic financial forecasts, rather than maybe anything that had actually taken place. So we'll go into it, but they've not been immune. But as you say, there's a couple of clubs. I mean, that's we kind of knew about. It seems a bit unfortunate. It feels like Biarritz and Béziers, there have been various things going on, haven't there? Changes in ownership for quite some time, and they're obviously the French, the FFR, or the LNR, is it? I think maybe that.
Yeah, and it
deals with this sort of thing. There's probably like an independent body.
A2R or something like that. It's like there's a proper name for it.
Yeah,
I think there's like a couple of regulators that get involved actually. The DAX one, I remember reading the statement last time. It does feel a little bit like, well, maybe it's a bit woe is me, but like it is kind of the not supporting the financial forecast thing. And I know they have to back up, and they've got to be. You've got to prove that you're not going to be loss making, and I guess that could be quite hard if you are actually loss making. How do you prove that you're not going to be? But 14 points is absolutely loads.
It's masses, isn't it?
For single season. For basically just saying, we reckon, like people get forecasts wrong the whole time. Like big listed companies, let alone small rugby clubs in France. So
yeah.
Maybe I should dig into that. I'll dig into that one, Richard, because that's all about everyone being squeaky clean. Not this shady stuff. You can get involved in that. Me being the chartered accountant that I am, I think I'm still a member.
We'll have a look into it. And then I suppose to round us off on the pure rugby stuff, top 14 is back. And Rob, am I right in thinking you're squeezing in one last trip?
Yeah, I'm going. I'm as surprised as you are. I'd kind of I keep looking at this round of fixtures like Stade Francais playing Racing 92. Oh, I'm going to that. My first trip to Saint-Jean-Bouin. Looking forward to it. Nice little pre-Christmas Paris trip.
Excellent. Are you Eurostarring? Are you flying?
Flying there. Currently unbooked for the way back.
Ooh, that's certainly an approach to take.
We went for the
what's the thinking behind that? Oh, like the last minute Eurostar, like
the last minute Eurostar stuff is really cheap. Is like genuinely quite cheap.
Yeah,
and that is our preferred method.
Yeah.
Whether we may end up getting just a normal Eurostar, which will be expensive, but we quite like the idea of being able to bring back some goods for a bit of Christmas shopping.
Bit of Christmas, yeah.
Stock up on really nice wine for £10 a pop, and basically it counts as pays for itself. The Eurostar, then, if you think of the money you save on buying cheap French products.
Yeah, you can't bring back at the moment any meat or dairy, right? That's a thing, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that to stitch you up. Also,
I know it was a thing for Italy and Spain. I don't know whether... I think we brought some stuff back last time from Paris.
Don't say that. Interpol will be on you. If you do get the train back, don't do what you did when we came back all those years ago from the World Cup and get off the train and immediately drop the porcelain plate gift that you bought for someone. The first second back in Blighty.
It survived weeks of travelling in different modes of transport and slipped out on the platform at St Pancras. You couldn't write it.
Back home and out here with a bang. Anything else? Obviously, you've got that's the early kickoff as well on Saturday night, which is quite nice. Anything else that looks exciting? Bordeaux hosting Toulon on Sunday night.
That does look good, yeah.
That's a reason to miss your train if ever there was one. Montpellier, Castres. I could see, you never know. Your boys Poe, we mentioned it earlier, to Montauban. Yeah,
could extend our lead at the top of the table.
Could do.
Because those naughty, horrific criminals from Toulouse are off to Lyon, and that anything could happen in that game.
Yeah, Lyon off the back of two defeats to Newcastle, and in fact that feels written in the stars, doesn't it?
Saturday night
to Newcastle
game,
and lose to the Dragons, and then maybe beat Toulouse like 50-20 or something like that.
Yeah, or last kick of the game, or
something
equally like the backlash from Toulouse could be.
Not much fun for Lyon.
There is one game that is particularly interesting to me, I think, and that is Perpignan v Clermont.
Yeah, agreed.
Because Perpignan, well, at least they've got a win now. They scored that win in the first round of the Challenge Cup. I think they scored 2 tries fewer in that game than they've managed at home all season.
Crazy, isn't it?
Which is mad. So in like 6 games. So it's and Clermont, obviously, the fact that they are in such bad form and they've never travelled well.
Yeah,
I wonder whether they've got Perpignan.
Feels like there's maybe oddly there's
have to win, but that's such a winnable game.
Yeah, it's also
that has to be one of the more winnable ones they've got. They've got to target that.
It feels suddenly as well that becomes a pretty big pressure game for Clermont, having had the 2 big losses in the Champions Cup. Because up to them, obviously, their home form's actually been great.
They've scored more points at home than anyone else.
They've hammered a few teams, and generally, but it feels like a fortnight away, the way those results have gone. So, just, I don't know, and a bit of if every other side has picked up a win on the road there, it just kind of cranks that up a little bit. And maybe just a couple of weeks away from the top 14 glare might work for Perpignan and their fabulous new kit and off-field range and all of that as well. So we'll see. But I agree. I think maybe that's the most intriguing, if that's the correct word, of the games.
There's plenty riding on it. Be interesting to see La Rochelle against Bayonne as well. I wonder because Bayonne basically have thrown the towel in with selection the last couple of weeks. So does that suggest that they're actually going to send quite a strong side away to La Rochelle? And La Rochelle can't really pick that many more players anyway. They rested 3 of their big guns against, or like the 3 ones that were actually fit in Aldrit, Jegu, and Niniashvili. Although Antonio didn't play either, so he don't know how he avoided being on that list. But those guys should be back, especially for a home game.
Yeah. Definitely. And again, I feel like maybe that 2-week break, maybe we'll just see a slightly better, 1 or 2 better side. Oh no, it's not a 2-week break, is it? It's basically just
they
over
go
a week.
Straight through.
They have the Boxing Day, as they call it, which apparently is, I remember hearing this last year, apparently isn't really a term that's used in France. And a few people are like, this is just really odd, but quite funny that they use this.
Well, particularly funny when there is not a single game on Boxing Day. So...
Yeah, they released like a brand new ball and everything for it last year, I think.
Yeah.
It's like a proper event, but I mean, there were worse days to or worse events, aren't there, to have a couple of days after Christmas than, I don't know, say going to like, Bayonne if you're a Stade Francais fan, although you probably would lose, but that's by the by. Nice Christmas jaunt. Cool. Let's wrap up there. We'll come back in a moment. A couple of little Petit-Fours to finish.
This episode is brought to you by McAfee.
Finish your fantasy lineup?
No, but I'm joining this paid group chat with insider info.
Dude, seriously? Forward it to me. Security alert from McAfee. That group's as legit as that knockoff jersey you're wearing.
McAfee's scam detector is available in all McAfee plans for as little as $39.99 for your first year. Learn more at McAfee.com/online protection.
Okay, Rob, I haven't seen anything quite so, what's the word, mad this week. I haven't seen anyone melting a raclette on a radiator or playing cards off a ripped off door that's been manufactured into a card table. Did see that, I think, and I could be wrong, I think the first player ever, Toulon, Jeremy Sanzel, first player ever to play 100 games, top flight games or top tier games for 3 different clubs, which is a pretty amazing
that's why they were making a big deal of it.
Yeah, Stade Francais, La Rochelle, and obviously now Toulon, which is pretty incredible. When if you think that's the first person ever to do that is some going. So yeah, there were. Yeah.
Surely Edinburgh has done it.
100.
Oh, he's got to be close, isn't he?
Too many clubs, maybe 50 for 6 or something. But yeah,
maybe.
So yeah,
he's
quite cool.
Sanzel's he started at Toulon, right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, so he's
some very old photos, and I was like, oh Jesus, that's Jeremy Sanzel. I didn't recognise him.
Yeah, he's remarkable career. I think he's also a little badger earlier. I think he's won the top 14 Challenge Cup and Champions Cup, which is
the Champions Cup with La Rochelle.
Yeah. I think the first one they won, Challenge Cup with Toulon and top 14 with Stade Francais.
Nice,
which is very cool. So yeah, that stood out to me. Talking of Stade Francais as well, and Rob, I dare say this, you might be adding this as another little gift for yourself. You've seen they've released a Christmas jumper kit, a limited edition Christmas jumper. I mean, it's basically a bright.
That sounds disgusting.
Shirt with like a kind of jumper motif.
Is it like one of those? Is it like one of those
there.
rugby shirts you can get that's like a black tie, like a dinner jacket? Is it like one of those?
I don't know if it's quite as egregious as that, but
or like the
I get what you mean.
Stormers had like a Captain America one. Didn't
Yeah,
it? Like that.
If let's say if the tuxedo shirt is the top of the scale in terms of tasteless kit, and I don't know, that beautiful Perpignan long sleeve collared one is on the other axis or the other end of that axis, then this is, I'd say it's certainly nudging more towards the tuxedo, if not fully there. You'll see it in the flesh, I'm sure.
I was just distracted by Louis Bielbiere being on holiday in Lapland, but I think that's a couple of weeks old.
Excellent.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find this. Keep going with your news.
I haven't got too much more stuff, but it's 2 things that are both TV related. One was that the top 14 final broadcasting deal, I have no idea how much that's worth, but that's been extended to 2032. So no harm in not being able to see the top 14 final for a few years yet. And speaking of TV, apparently the biggest TV sporting event, or the most viewed sporting event this year, was France v Scotland, which had, give or take, 1 million more viewers than the Champions League final when Paris Saint-Germain were in it. So yeah, obviously everyone wanted to watch Scots.
They won the Six Nations, but it's Finn Russell for you, mate. 9.8
million, which feels like quite a lot, right?
That's quite jazzy, that shirt, isn't it?
Yeah, it's lively. We'll put it that way.
I feel like I'm gonna have to see what that looks like in the flesh.
What have you got? Anything on your side?
I've got a lot of transfer stuff, so I'll rattle through that. Dan Robson is confirmed basically in the Telegraph on Friday that he's off to Gloucester as a replacement for Thomas Williams. Bit of stuff down in the south. Well, Toulon, we mentioned Albanoz has signed. Strong rumours of Garbisi leaving. And Michele Valdi has retired. Another guy who came through at Toulon. Ioana Yashigashvili, the very, very good mammoth Mont de Marsan back rower, rumoured to be close to signing for Van for next season. That could be that should really be top 14. That'd be really cool. Colomiers are eyeing up a replacement for Valentin Delpy for next season. They wanted to retain him, but Toulouse want him back. There have been rumours of Pierre Popelin and Lucas Mere, who are both 30, and that feels kind of not really the Colomiers thing. But the biggest rumour is Thibaut Debaise of Van, formerly Pau, which I think would be quite a good fit because I think he plays really good rugby. One young fly half who is not going to be going there is Justin Bourreau from Oyonnax, who is keeping out a couple of big names, and he has signed for Clermont next season. Clermont, who are not extending deals for club legends, club heroes or stalwarts, Etienne Falgueux and Aliberti Raka.
Saw a rumour as well.
Where is Raka going to end up? That could be fun.
Well, the rumour I saw was Bordeaux.
No.
You which mad? Seems, well, that's what I saw. It's not my rumour, but yeah.
Apparently Alex Moon is going to Bordeaux.
Yeah, I saw that. That's very cool.
Plenty of English clubs interested, but Bayern have also signed Lasha Mashrashvili from Agen, tight head prop, who's a very good player. Second best tight head at Agen, obviously behind both Aarons. Maybe that's why. No, yeah.
Was that the guy when we went to Agen? You sort of told him that.
Yeah,
told him. And he just sort of grinned and nodded along. Yeah. Yeah. He's wide bloke, isn't he? He'll hell of a unit.
I'm talking, although we mentioned Clermont a bit there, I'm amazed you haven't mentioned it yet. The big news at the Marcel Michelin.
What's happened? They shut down the McDonald's.
No, Europavox, the 20th anniversary. Black Eyed Peas.
Black Eyed Peas. Yeah, sorry.
Sold out in 30 minutes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot about that. The Marcel Michelin has become the storied venue of the last 12 months. It's been hosting top tier football. It's been hosting double headers with the Elite Women's League. It's now the Black Eyed Peas are in town. Incredible. I look forward to undoubtedly seeing some footage from a few Clermont players tearing it up at the Marcel Michelin, listening to a bit of Will.i.am. I did notice the picture. I'd forgot about the Black Eyed Peas. There was no Fergie.
That was my next point. Yeah, she's gone. I don't know where she is.
Oh, big transfer somewhere else.
Now, in other musical news, Richard, the Spotify Wrapped. We said there might be a few. The Spotify Wrapped for Stade Lausanne is out. Which players' top 5 most listened to songs were at 5, Backbone by Chase and Status and Stormzy, 4, Beautiful Things by Benson Boone, 3, Cinema Skrillex Remix, Benny Benassi, Gary Go, Skrillex, 2, Cantor, Jerry Cinnamon, banger, and 1, Messy by Lola Young, also a good song.
Oh,
whose is that?
Anyone who's got Jerry Cinnamon in there, that has to be either Kinghorn or Willis. Has to be.
Who's your money on?
Well, I'll go the Scottish one, Kinghorn.
Jack Willis.
Damn.
I can tell you that Blair Kinghorn's listening age is 67.
Oh, wow.
Which doesn't surprise me. He feels like a sort of loose cannon that was just dances around to kind of, don't know. What else was interesting here? Ange Capozzo's top albums all look like they're rogue. It's like the original Julio Iglesias, Norah Jones, but they all look really old. They're all
Julio Iglesias.
They're all albums from the 50s. Alexandre Rumat's top artist was Drake. That's someone at least I've heard of. I think that was it. That was the highlights.
Oh, very nice.
Shame not to see more of them. They're good.
I'm sure there'll be something. Maybe we'll do a bit of digging. All right, Rob, I think we're at time again. I don't think we've got any local radio podcast appearances this week, but you can find us across all social media at Rosbiff Rugby. Email us at rosbiffrugby@gmail.com. Rob, enjoy your trip to Paris. Enjoy getting home, however you do that. Keep us posted. I'm sure it'll be eventful. And until then, au revoir.
Au revoir.
part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.